So I'm going to invite to the stage, as you guys leave, hint, hint, Andrew and Carl, who are going to pick up the theme of being safe in your neighbourhoods. And I've got plenty to talk about there. And again, you'll have a chance to ask some questions at the end.
Hi.
You've got on the wrong side. Hello.
Oh, sorry. Hello, nice to see you all. I'm Carl. I think I know probably about 50% of you. I look after our estate, which is essentially everything that's outdoors and grows. I know that a few comments have come up, which I can answer you in the break. Yeah. I'm more than happy to talk to you about that in the break, Tom. Yeah, no problem. Right, so direction of travel for us on the estate, as you're probably, well, you won't be aware, but all of my colleagues have been talking to you about the white paper and the social housing paper, which is our focus, and to essentially get all of you much more engaged in your communities and in your environments. And it's about giving the space back. So at the moment, a lot of these services we manage are contracted out, and we know we haven't got the model quite right. So by consultation with yourselves, we've introduced some estates operatives, which are like caretakers and cleaners on some of our more dense estates in the inner city stock, and that's working really well. So we're probably looking to expand that over the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to be writing a green space strategy, which I'll touch on, and obviously safer spaces, following on from the Grenfell tragedy in the white paper, and our waste management. So where we're at the moment, we've probably got a team of about 10 estates advisors, well, five advisors, 10 operatives and fire safety compliance officers as well, which are going out QAing the work that our contractors do, listening to yourselves and feeding back to the business as to what's working and what's not. They're available to meet with you. You're more than welcome to attend these sessions with all of our colleagues if you'd find that fruitful. The idea of our presence and bringing these services in-house is to try and get more of a consistent service. So at the moment, we don't quite have a finished product. We've got a cleaning team which go in, and then Ecology will clean the waste, and then the grass cutting is separate. So you'll notice things happening, but you probably don't really see a wow factor at any one time. And that's something you've told us that you want changed, and we're looking at how best we can manage that by doing it as cheap as possible for you. Value for money is obviously important. We could go out and we could go and do more and more and more, but all of the services on our estates are paid for by yourselves. So whilst we want to hear your views, that's great. If you do want more interventions, they do come at cost. So it's just something to bear in mind. Part of our estates operatives, that they will see fly tipping on the estate. They might find waste from dogs or fly tipping and graffiti or whatnot, but we can clear it whilst we're there. So instead of reporting it back, which is what we do at the moment, and it often touches 5 hands before you get resolved, which can be quite frustrating. I understand that. So ideally you'll see a lot less of antisocial behaviour by way of waste and abandoned vehicles and bits and pieces on the estate, because our colleagues are out there reporting back to us before you do. And less need for you to contact us. Who wants to contact their landlord? Right, our green spaces strategy. So climate change, global warming, I'm sure you've, hopefully you're a David Attenborough avid fan like me. You might know Greta Thunberg as well, you know, the young girl that keeps popping up here and there, skiving school. But you know, these are legitimate reasons, essentially, for us to all get on board. And this isn't just about Curo writing a policy about how we do things differently. This is a responsibility. This is a global responsibility that sits with yourselves as much as it does with us as a landlord. But we're talking, you know, this is not just local, this is international, and we've all got to start making a difference. So with our green space strategy, we are going to start looking at renewable energies. I know that question came up in the previous session. We've got quite a complex stock over a vast amount of blocks, so we are tied into the big 6 players in terms of who we can choose to supply your energy. Now, recently we applied for dispensation for the courts because we wanted to lock in a contract. And to do that, but because you buy on commodity on the day, the court had to award that, which they did, which has been great. So the good news story is the communal energy costs which you're paying for today are 75% cheaper than what they should be. Downside is that contract finishes in September 2022, and we're probably going to see commodity increase by 100%. So good news is we've managed to save quite a bit of money over the last few years. It's unlikely that we'll lock into a long-term contract in September 2022 just because charges are so high. So we'll do it on a rolling contract, subject to review. But we'll keep you in the loop with that. All of that will be on our website. The only people that are right up there in terms of who we can choose for renewables at the moment at E.ON. So whilst we've got commitment to look at organisations who will do renewable energy, we have to balance that against the cost and essentially what's going to hit your pockets. But we'll consult with you on that. Allotments, we've got a few of them. We want more of them. Play areas, we had 26 of them, we've now got 16 of them, and that's through following consultation with yourselves. More people want outdoor spaces. People want to take back ownership of the land. Effectively, if you've got pockets of green which are mismanaged by us or just neglected, give us a call. If you want an extra flower bed, crack on. Just let us know so our contractors don't come round, think it's grass, and then cut down all your pretty flowers. Frustrating for you, I know, and I'm aware we've done it as well. So community projects, we want to hear from you, what you want to see on the estate. Do you want more land to grow? What do you want with your outdoor spaces? Effectively, it's yours. The less and less we need to intervene, and the more that you get engaged, this is also potential to bring down service charges as well, because you've got the potential to take a bit more ownership. If there's an appetite there, or you can get your community on board, do so. We've got an estates partnership board. I did see one of our board members, Kathleen, she seems to have disappeared. And EV charging points. So we're getting more and more questions now around what Curo are going to do about it. If you're fortunate enough to have your own property or live in a property which is on the ground, by all means apply to us for consent and we'll support that. A lot of our blocks, the infrastructure isn't there at the moment, so we are working with national suppliers who effectively, if there's an appetite by a large cohort of people expressing an interest to get an electrical vehicle, we can put those points in because they'll make their money back off the revenue for the electric that you pay. So those consultations will come out probably next year, but it's unlikely. Fuel, whilst that will stop building vehicles with fossil fuels, I think from about 2025, it's likely they'll be on the road until 2040, maybe. Safer spaces and waste management. So do we check your estates? Yes, we're constantly out and about on your estate, and like I say, if you want to get more involved in what we do, let us know, and we're more than happy to invite you along. We've got an estates at Curo help desk. Quite often people are confused as to what Curo do and what Baines do or what local authorities do. We've got a GIS mapping system. You've all got access to that. Whack it on your mobile phones if you've got mobile phones, or just put in a postcode and it'll let you know exactly what we're responsible for, what our management regime is, and if it's not, it'll either identify which local authority it is or it's private land. If it's private land, give us a call. If there's something untoward going on, we'll try and support you to ascertain who's responsible. It's not always Curo. I know that what is frustrating at the moment is local authorities have had cuts left, right and centre. So half of our estates are matrix managed by both Curo and local authorities. So the local authorities are cracking on and only cutting their grass 4 times a year. We're trying to cut ours up to 16. What do you get? An estate which looks like we've only done half a job. But if we was to take on all of Baines's land, you'd see an increase in service charges, which is something we're trying to avoid. Our see it and sort it model, where we are quite a large group. The colleagues who are going out and QAing at the moment feedback their reports and findings to other colleagues in the business, because at the moment, the way it all works, there's different departments deal with different things. So we're reviewing that, and if there's smaller repairs or smaller potholes, we're trying to move into a see it and sort it model, and that's something we're in the early conversations of doing that. But we kind of want to achieve more first-time fixes and just seeing things before you do, effectively, and having to report them through to us. We've got a bin store program. A lot of our waste and our waste facilities were obviously built a long time ago, and there is more of an emphasis on yourselves and myself to recycle a lot more. All of our recycling facilities are managed by our local authorities, so it'll be those you need to speak to if you want more of. We can support those conversations, but it's likely that some of your fortnightly collections at the moment may reduce to 3 weekly, and if that does happen, our bin stores aren't fit for purpose. You know, some of our archetypes aren't going to enable us to build any more, so there's going to be a massive shift in customer behaviour, and if there isn't, what we're going to have to do is Curo will have to put in additional waste collection services, again at cost, and it's something that we're keen to avoid. So we'll be working in partnership with our local authorities, your local authorities, to mitigate that where possible. But yeah, upcycling, recycling is the way forward for all of us. Abandoned vehicles. If we identify an abandoned vehicle, we can only move a vehicle if it has no tax and no insurance. Our process at that point is to tort it with a sticker on it. The owner has up to 4 days to crack on and legalise that vehicle, or Curo then legally own it and we squash it, essentially. So if you've got concerned over vehicles, it's really easy to check. Go onto the DVLA website, put in the registration number, and it'll let you know quite quickly if it's untaxed and no MOT, insured no MOT. You know what I mean? Anyway, and then we'll move it if we have to. This is an example of a green space project that our senior ARB has recently undertaken with a community out in Peasdown, St John and Radstock. We've identified just an empty bit of land, no one was using it. There was an expression of interest from the community. They wanted an orchard with fruit trees. You know, so we've got a commitment to plant more trees going forward. And trees are often a bone of contention. They do clean the air. We've got a duty of care to increase our green space canopy. So generally, if a tree is healthy, our preferred option would be not to fell a tree. We are trying to increase our green space. And also, as the seasons get longer, if we don't change the way we behave and the way we manage our green spaces, we can't keep cracking on and cutting the grass 16 times a year. If we're going to have to start cutting from February through to November now, we have to make decisions. 50% of our grass we need to leave alone. You know, it needs to go into meadow space for our insects. So we will discuss with you what areas there might be an appetite to do that. We piloted No Mow May this year. Some people loved it, some loathed it. Again, it's the estate. It's like our estate is like Marmite. Some people love trees, some people hate them. So we do try and find a happy medium, but yeah, sometimes we will have to just speak with you and hear your views, and we do try to get it right. And we're taking the environment a lot more serious. 2 secs, Margaret, I'm going to go on, crack on then.
There's a dead tree on the green, been there for years, and I was told I couldn't cut it down.
If it's dead, we certainly can, so I'll catch up with you afterwards then, you can let me know where he is. Yeah. Right, so you can have a read of what's going on. This is our direction of travel over the next few years. I'm not going to do death by PowerPoint, but we are taking a lot more interest in the lay of our land. And if there's anything that you want to get involved in, we've already got badger sets here, there and everywhere. Some of you will know where they are. We want to start increasing our green jobs. So direction of travel, you know, there's going to be more of an emphasis on Curo as an employer, but also as a responsible adult, to make sure that all of the jobs that we're doing going forward have the green agenda within them. And it's all about, you know, our carbon footprint and being sensible with what we do. That's me.
Thank you. So I'm now going to pick up where Carl's kind of left off, but we're going to look at more around feeling safe in your neighbourhood. Okay, so linked to antisocial behaviour, hate crime, domestic abuse. And in years gone by, what I've normally done at this point is pulled up loads of stats of how many cases we've had and what have you, but I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to look at it and split it out a little bit differently. And the focus of what I'm going to talk about is information, where you can gain information from to actually who will deal with what issue, whether it's Curo, the police, the local authority or other agencies. We're also going to talk about communication, okay, where we're at with that, and we're also going to talk about information. So getting information out to you guys in a much better, hopefully friendlier format. So if we just go back and have a little review, I just want to spend a couple of seconds talking about antisocial behaviour and the effects of lockdown. And I think it's fair to say through lockdown, the team remained active all of the time. We're out and about in the estates where they were able to be. And what we noticed in lockdown were some quite extremes of behaviour. So very quickly going from 0 to really extreme with no lead in. And that was dealt with as best as we could with the courts and what have you. And we had some quite significant cases which we had to deal with. So following this session today on VoiceBox, we're going to push out a consultation with our customers and our residents around that kind of theme. And what we did see was a slight increase on abuse also aimed towards Curo colleagues whilst carrying out their roles in and around our estates. And the question that we want to ask and the information we want to gather from our residents are what do you think those sanctions should be when Curo colleagues, are the subject of that abuse? Do you think we should continue working with those customers and residents in the same way? Do you think we should potentially withhold some of our services? Do you think they should go through a period of mediation? There's plenty of things that we want to explore and take that forward. Throughout the last 12 months, and I can see two of the panel members in the audience, the Antisocial Behaviour Service, Tenancy Compliance Service went through a scrutiny process. Probably in my 20 years of working in social housing, one of the best processes I've ever been through. It was really good, and actually I felt really valued. That someone was really scrutinising the service that I lead, and there were some really good things that came out of that, some which we are now implementing, some which we've implemented, but it was a really good go through all of our services with those residents that were involved in that. Our joint working with police to tackle county lines and drug dealing has continued throughout the last year and will continue for as long as it is needed. And that is one area which we need to get better at with our partner agencies at getting better outcomes quicker. Okay, it is difficult, and I'll pick up on that again in a second. When tools and powers were given out to housing associations to use, we didn't get all of them. Housing associations didn't get all of the powers. Some powers were left just with local authorities to use. We have been in conversations with Baines Council recently, and we are very close now to be given some new tools and powers, which will be able to enable colleagues to deliver quicker outcomes, more positive outcomes, without the lengthy waits for kind of court action and that kind of thing. So we're really excited about that coming on board. And over the past few months, I've been working up a programme with the teams, and you are going to see a lot more of us out in your estates, knocking on your doors, carrying out audits, finding out what it means to you guys to live in a Curo property, to live on our estates. And we know that there are probably some issues out there where, unfortunately, some of our residents have decided they don't want their homes anymore, and potentially using them for illegal or immoral purposes, or potentially renting them out in a fraudulent way. And my message today is we are going to be tackling that in a really robust way moving forward. So over the last 3 months, through the scrutiny process, we have basically realised that we had to up our game in our communication stakes. Now, the team carry out an extra probably 400 to 500 phone calls per week to customers, giving them updates on where we're at. But the actual best thing I think ever, and how wonderful is this, we actually phone customers now and say, we haven't got an update for you, but how are you? How is it living in there? We're still working with you, we're still trying to solve your problem with you, but actually, how are you feeling? And how great is that to get a phone call from someone to say, how are you feeling? Something really easy, really simple, but something that we just really didn't think about. And through talking through experiences with those customers who were involved in the scrutiny panel, that was one of the main things that we focused on to deliver very quickly. And that's live and is already, I think, showing some really good results. I'm taking part in a mapping exercise across Baines where we're mapping out all of the services on who deals with what, because if we don't tell our residents who deals with what, you won't know. So actually, there's a real big piece here around, is it Curo? Is it the police? Is it the local authority? Is it another agency? Who can deal with that issue the quickest, okay, and get the outcome for you the quickest? Otherwise, you get frustrated, you know, and I understand that, when perhaps in the past we've said, oh yeah, we'll take that on for you, but we might not be best placed to deal with it. So actually, if we've got this map of all agencies, okay, on who deals with what, we can share that with you, and then we can hold them to account with you, okay, to deliver on what they should be delivering, okay? And I'm also taking part in a review in a national group of agency involvement with victims and perpetrators of antisocial behaviour. And that's linked to some of the tools and powers which came in a while ago now around positive requirements. And actually, if you just penalise people for behaving in a bad way, but actually don't get them onto programmes and get them attending groups and what have you, they're just going to keep going around in the same circle. And a lot of the judges in the court system don't understand the positive requirement and why it was brought in. So working closely, as I said, with the national group, being fed into the Home Office to actually hopefully upskill some of those judges, let them understand how it is for practitioners, but also for victims on the ground, okay, and actually the benefit that that could bring to those people's lives. The next thing we're looking at over the next couple of months is we will be reviewing all of our literature and letters. Some of them are really long. Some of them I even get a little bit bored with by the time I get to the end of them. So if I get bored of them, you guys are going to get bored of them, all right? So it needs to be short, it needs to be snappy, it needs to be punchy, but it needs to be friendly, okay? It needs to be respectful, and it needs to be really clear and tell you exactly what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and also how we're going to feed back to you, okay? So the plan is everybody will get an individual action plan, okay? So you can then come back to us and say, you said this, you didn't do it, or more to the point, what I want to hear is, you said this, and I can see you're doing it, and we'll keep it under review, okay? An individual contract with every single one of you who reports into the team has to be the way to go. You feel valued, you feel informed, okay? And you can tell us how to improve our services further if you feel that's needed. We are going to start to encourage more local ownership and solutions, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. A piece of work which I'll probably be delivering with Carl and his team as well. We are going to be, through those local ownerships and new solutions, we are going to set up and draft a new community standard, okay? What does it actually feel like to be a Curo resident living on one of our estates, okay? And we want to really understand that. What can we do to make things better? But more importantly, what can customers and residents do to make things better for themselves, okay? And if you're a resident who lives in Snow Hill, you may have a very different idea of what it feels like to live on that estate than potentially a resident who lives in Twerton, okay? And that's really important. That is not one size fits all, okay? And then we will be pulling forward on that, holding other agencies to account, drawing up certain agreements with our partners to tackle antisocial behaviour. And a big partner is obviously the police, and really trying to get a standard with them when we feed information into them. How quickly can we expect a response on your behalf so it doesn't sometimes, and I know it feels like this, drop into a bit of a large hole and you're thinking, well actually, I know it's gone in, Curo are talking to me, but what are the police actually doing about it? So those meetings are also ongoing as well. So as I've said, you will get clarity linking back into the white paper on the different responsibilities the police, local authority and landlords have in tackling antisocial behaviour, okay? We are working with other agencies to improve the mental health support to our residents. We will be removing the issues that affect our communities and vulnerable tenants. And the other big one linked to the Domestic Abuse Act is more security of tenure for victims of domestic abuse, okay? So victims of domestic abuse will be offered lifetime tenancies with us. So 3 opportunities for our residents to get involved, and basically the next 12 months my email is always open, my Twitter is always open, my phone will always be on. I want to hear from as many residents as I can, and the first thing is launching the community standards. So as I've said, what does it mean to live in a Curo community? We want each community to have a neighbourhood plan. It will be designed by our residents, it will be led by our residents, okay? And we understand a big piece of that is we have residents across all of our estates. Some have lived there for 5 minutes, some have lived there for 50 years, okay? If I asked all of you in the room now, do you know where your tenancy agreement is? Some of you would say yes, some of you would say no. If I asked, do you know what's in your tenancy agreement? Some of you would say yes, and some of you would probably say no. We have to do a big education piece back to all of our residents to remind them also what they actually signed up to and what the their responsibilities are, but also what our responsibilities are as well, all right? We are also going to look to set up a victim support group. I've worked with many victims of antisocial behaviour in my time here at Curo, and I think there are some really, really good and most amazing people. I've met some of the most amazing people who actually I've offered support through my time here, but actually for those residents, if they want to offer that support to other residents, I think it would be really powerful. I think it will come across a lot better than coming from someone who works behind a desk 90% of the time, okay? And actually, the relationships that can be built up, I think that has the strength to just grow and grow. Customers supporting customers, who'd have thought it? And the last thing is launching again after today's session is we'll be going out to VoiceBox and working with Tom and a team to set up an antisocial behaviour case review group where I'll be inviting residents in to the office. We will review a certain number of cases. They will be anonymised, and we will basically be saying, if you were the victim in that case, do you think we could have done better? Where do you think we could have improved? And then that will inform our policy and process change moving forward. So I can be really confident that we're then delivering a service which really meets and hopefully exceeds some of our residents' expectations. All right. So that was a very quick run through. Carl's got the iPad.
Well, actually, it's broke, so I wonder if my lovely Rachel could come and fix this for me so we can get some online questions. I'm aware that you've sacrificed your break, so we've got up to 7 minutes. So we'll probably take a few from the room, and if Rachel could nicely fix this for me, we could take a few from online. So a few from the room first. At the back there, sir.
Yeah. I want to answer to this question as well. Why does Curo continually say we always prosecute fly tippers where we have evidence? This is a lie. Why do you do it? And two, when evidence is gathered, presented to you, we can't find out what has gone on. We've had to pay out money in service charges, and we cannot find out who has been done, what they've been done for, and how much. Why?
Okay, so I'll take this one. That's a misconception. Curo cannot prosecute.
Yeah, but you always say we always prosecute fly tippers where we have evidence. You always say it.
Can I finish? Sorry, sir. So we don't have the powers to prosecute.
You always say that, though.
If you go back into my presentation, Mr. Balby, a moment ago, you'll see that we've done some work with the local authority, and there are some powers which they've had, which they never ever gave to us, okay? And through those conversations now, moving forward, we should be able to get the powers where we will be able to actually take that action ourselves and not rely on other people and other agencies to take that action for us. So actually, when we get the evidence, we can go, bang, there it is, and we can deliver that to you, rather than packaging it up and moving it across and saying, well, we can't do that.
But what's happened to these fly tippers who have been reported that you say we always prosecute fly tippers and nothing has been done. I can't find out anything.
You shouldn't be able to. Curo can't prosecute, the local authorities prosecute.
Yeah, but you always say you always do.
Mr. Balby, you'd need to pass evidence to the local authorities to say, I've got evidence of a suspected perpetrator, and they might engage with you then around what they're able to do.
The local council won't engage with me at all. I walk into their office and the idiot on the desk looks at me as if I'm stupid. I want an answer to these questions. Why are fly tippers getting away with it? Why do you say you prosecute them when you don't?
We don't prosecute. Curo don't have the powers to prosecute. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not the case.
Yeah, it is the case. You say we always prosecute fly tippers where we have evidence.
No,
and you don't.
No, we can't.
Mr. Balby, should we catch up after the session?
Talk about it. Well,
okay.
It's been going on for 10 years,
Yeah.
so why not go on for another 10 years?
Right.
It's still not getting answered,
We'll have a catch up after the session.
Question number 2? Yes. I'll just wait for the microphone. Oh, thank you.
You said you come out and read code cases of someone's been abused in their home. Last year, after my first case with my ex-partner, during lockdown, because I couldn't go out, he broke in. Nobody came up or telephoned me at all to see how I was doing.
Was that reported to us?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I can catch up with you afterwards as well. Obviously, during lockdown, some of the new communication stuff has gone live in the last 3 months, and I understand that is where potentially we failed in the past. But I can have a conversation with you in the break in a second, so we won't go into individual detail, and we can just understand that. Yeah. All right.
Gentleman in the blue coat.
We've got a green area quite near to our house, and I think also it's right near to Rotork. They want to take away some of the parking spaces that run along that green area because of their new development. Now, people have already started parking their cars on there, on the green, and you know, when you were mentioning, say, about wildflower areas, I could see that green, for example, that would make an excellent area for wildflower areas.
Music to my ears.
But there's just this. There's all these other complications in life, aren't there? How can those people be encouraged not to park on that area? In a practical sense, how can they be stopped?
Yeah.
Because that is Curo land, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because of the lack of parking. And people park here, there and everywhere. You know, and with the clean air zone and increased private parking arrangements, people are parking wherever they can, on bits of green and on pathways, because essentially nobody can ask them to move on. But we could look to consult with the community. I think there would be an appetite. There are different types of shrub we can put in, and we can also, if we can get a lorry up there, put a boulder or two or old felled tree trunks as a method to try and stop people parking on the verges. You know, if we try and just think organic, cheaper options. But yeah, essentially parkers would need to be on board. It's not just customers that are parking in our spaces. It's parkers just across the city.
Right.
Right, we can take one more from the room, and I'm just cautious that we've got 2 minutes left. Do you want to? All right, gentleman in the cap, and then the lady with the glasses behind him.
Thank you. I live up at Roundhill Park, and the green in front of my bungalow looks really nice. But unfortunately, people have started dropping litter all over the place, and the bin gets overflowing, and no one comes to empty it. So people just drop the litter anywhere they like, which is ruining the space, really. And also, when they come to mow the lawn down there, this massive green, they don't do anything about the litter. They just go over it with the lawnmower, basically. I think something should be done about that.
Yeah, they shouldn't be mowing over straw and litter. But it sounds like if you two are local to each other, we could get a community project. We could do a litter pick and a wild flower planting exercise.
I think someone ought to empty the bins more often, especially the ones that are on Roundhill Park. There's only one for the whole area, basically. So anyone who comes to use it will then, if they can't put their rubbish into the bin, they'll just drop it wherever they like.
Okay.
Which is ruining an area.
All right, it sounds like there's a couple of issues that you and I can pick up separately, and I can take that forward with the exact location of that. One last question from the room then.
I live in Shakespeare Road in Radstock, in sheltered bungalow, and across from the row of bungalows, there's about a 6-7 foot hedge. It doesn't belong to you. It's some consortium in Wales that own it apparently. And I've been speaking to Karen and the Estates team about getting this hedge cut down. And she was told back in May, June time it would be cut down on the 31st of August. And as yet, there's no sign of anything happening.
I can follow
And
that for
it's
you.
cutting out a lot of light from the bungalows, plus there are those who are housebound, and there would be a fantastic view. I mean, from bungalow 1 to 8, the hedge is cut down low, but from 9 to 14, it's not. It's
Okay.
about 7 foot high.
All right, well, we can have a look at that. Be it that it's our hedge. I think we can only cut our hedges.
No, I don't think it is your hedge. It's some consortium in Wales are responsible
okay.
for it.
All right.
Karen from the Estates team has been in contact with them.
All right, I can follow that with Karen for you. I'll get
And
the details at the
they
end
told
of the
her
session.
that they would cut it down on the 31st of August.
Right.
But as yet, nothing's been done.
I'll see where she's at with it.
And there's some dog filing as well along this date.
Okay.
That we do have a lot of walkers, and some, not everybody now, but some are lying. I mean, I went up to an elderly lady the other morning who's just had a hip replacement. And at the bottom of her pathway was dog mess.
Okay. Let's look at that. All right, we haven't got time to go online. Apologies to anybody online. We can answer you in the methods that we do later on in the day. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your cup of tea.
Thank you. Cheers.